Hello everyone. So I am in this cute little phone booth looking thing at the WeWork co-working space that I work, and I'm a little nervous to talk because I don't know actually if how thin these walls are or if I'm gonna be bothering anyone else, but I'm just gonna make this video because I'm feeling really inspired today, and who knows, maybe this will work out with my routine and I'll start being able to like make videos over lunch or something like that so I can create more content. But anyway, so something I just wanted to talk about. I've been feeling very inspired by the start of the new year, which I think this is the first video I've done in the new year, so Happy New Year everyone. But I've been doing a lot of goal setting and vision, strategy, focus stuff for the new year, personally and with the company that I work for. And I was having a lot of ideas about how ENFJs goal set, and I just have been having a lot of realizations about that. If you guys are curious, comment below, but I started a bullet journal with sort of my goals for 2018, and I did a vision board last night with a group at church. So I have some fun stuff that I could show if you're curious about my specific goals, but what I'm going to talk about right now is the concept of ENFJs and shoot for the moon and you'll land amongst the stars. And as much as I love this phrase because it really fits my mentality, it's also really dumb because the moon is closer than the stars. And so it really should say, shoot for the stars and you'll land amongst the moon. But anyway, I was already sort of thinking about this today. With my bullet journal, essentially what I'm doing this year is I want to have more self-discipline while also staying kind to myself. And I want to make sure that I'm not setting myself up for failure and having some realistic goals that I can meet, because what I tend to do is set very far off, idealistic goals that I can never reach. And it was really interesting. I was following this thread on Facebook on a personality hacker forum about where a bunch of TJs were talking about where their TE comes up, and they were saying that TE to them is like metrics and like setting realistic goals, and I was sort of realizing how much I lack that. I don't set realistic goals. For me, my goals are motivations and kind of a shot in the dark, but something that gives me a fire under my ass so that I keep going, and I'm always going to get farther. To me, I look at, am I better than I was yesterday? Yes or no. I don't think about, okay, this is where I want to go, what do I have to do to get there, which is a lot, it's a lot more TE. But essentially, one of the NTJs in the forum was saying that they thought that TE wasn't rules, it was metrics and observing your actions to even know if you have reached your goal. And I was sort of thinking about, like, that's why I'm so hard on myself, because I never find a moment in time to celebrate for my growth, because I so rarely look back on even like how far I've come. And I am always moving. Like, I never like look at the pattern of, oh, like I've grown exponentially or I've grown by this percentage or anything like that. I just am not looking at metrics in my personal life and like in some of my business life as well. But anyway, so I was just amazed at the co-founders of the company that I work for strike me as an INTP and an INTJ, and so together they had all 8 of the functions represented, and I was just amazed by the combination of FE goals and TE goals that they seemed to put together in a way that really made sense to me and was really kind of blowing my mind, because my INTP coworker was talking about like, he was essentially explaining the TI of why lofty goals and why shooting for the moon and landing amongst the stars is important. Because if your mindset believes that you could do it, then the actions you take are going to be different and are going to get you farther. And if you have a far-reaching goal like that, then chances are, like, even if you, like, worst case scenario, you only get 70% of the way there, but it's still way more than you would have if you didn't even have that goal. That's essentially always my mindset. I'm always setting really ambitious, really audacious goals. Like, I will go months without meditating, and then I'll just say, all right, in 2018, I'm going to meditate every single day, morning and night. And when I do that, it really does make me give it my all and stop giving excuses for why I don't have to meditate. I'm all about improving. I'm not necessarily I don't get as much of a thrill out of meeting a goal just because it was a goal. And it seems to me like TE users really care about meeting a goal just because they said it was a goal, and they get some sort of satisfaction out of it. And so they seem to be a lot better at setting realistic goals. And although I don't really seem to be that motivated by that, it does seem to be a really great strategy for being kind to yourself, because I don't really do that. But anyway, so with both of my bosses, like, the INTP was talking about, like, well, this is why it's important to set high goals, because it's going to change our mindset, and it's going to light a fire under us and all that. But then they were talking about, which is, I guess, actually a technique that Google and LinkedIn and Spotify have done, which is essentially have an objective, which is, for me, increase inbound marketing. It's vague. That is like a sort of extroverted feeling goal. Like, make more YouTube videos, meditate more often. It's not specific, it's not measurable, it's just do it. Like, and these are the sort of goals I make for myself, which can kind of set me up for failure. I'll be like, go to bed more often, eat healthier. They're very vague. But my inferior introverted thinking, if I have this as a goal, then it will be on my mind constantly, and I will be not settling for any less. And it's very passionate, the way I'm just like, I gotta do it, I gotta do it, I got to drink more water, I got to go to sleep more, I got to meditate more, I got to read more books. Like, all of this is just pounding in my head at all times, and sometimes it's very overwhelming, because it's really important to know what goals are more important to hit than others. But what I thought was interesting about the strategy and the brilliance of an INTJ and INTP working together is that you set the objective goal, and then underneath that you have 3 measurable things that support that. And so it's a combination of both. You can't just have the strong FE objective of, I want to be a more spiritual person. You've got to be like, increase meditation practice by 30% in Q1. I don't know. It's a combination of both. And I think that when you set measurable TE goals, it can almost motivate you by giving yourself a little pat on the back, like, oh, I did something, like, oh, I'm actually improving. Wow, I didn't realize. I was too busy trying to chase the next thing to even notice. And the last thing I'll say on this, actually, no, before I say that, it's a very common ENFJ thing to shoot for the moon and land amongst the stars, and I think that we know that there is a utility in doing this, because it does fire us up, and it does allow us to reach things that you never would have thought. Like, someone like Oprah is a perfect characterization of what an ENFJ looks like. You know that she had lofty goals, or else she wouldn't be where she is today. And I think that's really admirable, to have big, scary goals and then facing your fears and then believing that. And just, it's kind of a mindset thing. Like, if you believe you could do it, therefore it is. And so it is. And I really do believe that. But something I personally want to do in 2018 is have more metrics of myself. For example, in my bullet journal, I have my habit tracker that I'm going to track a bunch of different habits. But anyway, gosh, what was I gonna say? There's something I was gonna say. Anyway, ENFJs tend to do this, and oh, I know what I was gonna say. To close this out, I think that this is why I'm so interested in using the functions as a framework, and noticing that they all have a bias with them, and they all have a benefit and a drawback. All 8 of Carl Jung's cognitive functions. Do you see how extroverted feeling cancels out the extroverted thinking? If you have this really vague, ambitious goal that lights a fire under you, like, I need to be more spiritual, that's like FE. TE is, I need to meditate X amount of times a week. Do you see how they can kind of cancel each other out? But you kind of need to have both, and you don't need to have both. You should be yourself and figure out how to optimize yourself, but learning about what the other type sees that you don't see is fascinating. Whereas an FE user will be like, well, I don't want to have too many metrics because I don't want to like try and predict too much what the outcome's going to be. I just want to work on being better each day. And I want to work on it as a vague, general, overarching principle. Whereas TE wants to be able to look at the metrics and see it over time. If an FE user doesn't understand the benefit of why TE users are doing that, then they're not going to get along. Because they're going to think, oh, you're imposing rules on me. You're making it harder for me to reach my goals. Whereas a TE user will look at the FE user's vagueness and they'll think, well, how are you going to get anywhere with that? Like, that's not motivating at all. And different things motivate different people. But if we want to understand each other and understand the insights that other types different than you offer, we're going to have to recognize those things in others. And that's why I started my Facebook group, personality typology for personal growth. I really want to be able to explore like the insights that each function has and help each other explore the insights that other types have that yours don't. And so that we could keep all of these perspectives in mind, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, we're all one, and we're all people, and we're all trying to live in a more productive, happier society and live better individual lives. And it's easier when we work together, and it's easier if we have a system that works for all of us. And the insights of FE might be able to help TE, whereas the insights of TE might be able to help FE. And FJ might come from this and be, oh, maybe I do need to have some metrics. Maybe these aren't the scary rules that I was thinking. Maybe these are actually something that can help me monitor myself. Maybe a TE user will be like, oh, I've been setting too realistic of goals that I haven't really been stretching myself to my fullest potential. Maybe I should set goals that I know I won't reach just to push myself to try harder. Maybe I've been selling myself short and settling a little bit. Do you see how these two things are kind of opposite and they can kind of butt heads? And this is why an FJ and a TJ might not get along. But if an FJ and a TJ understand each other, then of course they're going to get along. They're going to get some insight that they never would have gotten. This is just really the main idea of why I'm making these videos, why I started this Facebook group. If you aren't already a member, I'll put the link below. I would love for you to join. Today I asked the question to the group members of why are they thankful for their blind spot function? And we're sort of talking about that over there. So please join us over there and have a wonderful rest of your day.